They told me it was impossible. So this is the title of a book you might have read, which was written by Jean-Baptiste Rudel, who's the Criteo co-founder and CEO, and I think was with us here tonight, which tells the story of how Criteo was built. But this is also the gist of a lot of remarks I've heard while I was living in the US about it being quote-unquote impossible to build a tech company in Europe. Well, here we all stand today, and we're facing our next impossible challenge, which is building a top-notch research team in a French company. And I think that alludes to some of Stéphane's remarks. I think that in France, we're actually uniquely positioned to take advantage of and help drive some of the amazing advances that are being made in machine learning today, and to do this at scale. The good news is that France has never had a shortage of expertise and has produced some of the best minds in this field. Some of these folks have joined Criteo. Many others are doing research in academia at top-notch universities, or are in leadership positions at companies such as Google, Microsoft, Facebook, etc. But perhaps the one thing we need more of in France are companies that are exceptionally focused on ML-driven solutions at scale. So we all know that advertising and the sale of goods are the lifeblood of many internet companies. Whatever we think of advertising, whether we like it or we hate it, it is the thing that's keeping a large fraction of the internet alive. And part of our company's mission is to figure out the right business model for the open internet. That's the one that's not search or that's not social based. Think of us as the third pillar for merchants and brands to be able to reach their customers beyond the advertising they're doing on search and on social media. So, fundamental question for us is, how can we qualitatively improve the ads that we serve, so that instead of being perceived as a nuisance by users, they become a help in their shopping journey on the internet. In short, how to do a better job at personalizing the ad experience for any of our 1.4 billion users is the problem that we are tackling. So this is far from a solved problem, right? And it's a tough one. I mean, there are aspects. I'm just going to enumerate some, such as what metrics do we optimize for? Incrementality is a hot new discussion topic, and it's a very difficult problem to solve, as you know. What kind of bidding strategies do we use? Right, you've heard a little bit of that from Suju. How do we model user intent? Right. All of these problems are really hard, and I think they require collaboration in the broader community doing ML in ad tech to really solve. I'm going to give you another example. There's currently no really good way online to have serendipity. So what I mean by this is, you walk into a physical store, and as you walk through the aisles, your attention will latch onto some item that was not an item you originally planned to purchase when you entered the store, but you like it and you'll buy it. Very difficult to replicate that type of experience online, right? As we see with large companies that don't have a good way of offering that yet. So another interesting challenge we're facing is whether we can implement this kind of machine learning at scale while being privacy compliant. Can we fundamentally reimagine, challenge the status quo? The good news is that Criteo has been a precursor in this respect and is actually promoting a uniquely European vision of doing ML in a way that honors user privacy. Right? We actually did this before many other players in the ecosystem, starting in 2009. So this is very much in line with the impetus of GDPR and the the ethical view on AI that is being promoted by the French government. So I've mentioned some of the topics that are core to our business. The ability to drive this kind of topics is actually the key differentiator that the Criteo AI Lab is offering to the scientific community in France. So we're not building a lab that just does research for the sake of doing research, but we are working on tough problems that are front and center in our company's strategy and that have an impact on half of the global internet population. So the path is very short inside of Criteo, you know, from coming up with an idea, trying it out, and then getting it implemented into production and impacting a huge number of users on the internet. We've heard quite a bit in the beginning about the number of ways in which our scientists and engineers participate in the community by publishing papers, releasing data sets, talking at conferences, mainly about topics that are core to our business. And these are some of the defining features for the identity of the Criteo AI Lab, and also a sign of our willingness to collaborate, advance, and improve the field of online advertising. We all know that knowledge of ML and statistics, of course, and markets is going to be the equalizer with respect to future job creation and economic growth. And to enable this, I think we, and when I'm saying we, it's we as a community, we need to not just focus on creating individual labs that excel, but we also need to figure out ways in which we can give back to the community and spread that knowledge to more people. So we at Criteo want to help students take an active interest in coding and tackling problems at scale. As we all know, this is the era of quote-unquote big data, or I guess as Michael would say, IA, which is probably a more precise way of talking about this, in which the future belongs to those who know how to build systems and models that can wrangle meaning out of huge amounts of data. And so we want to do our part in helping groom the next generation of machine learning scientists and engineers. We've never believed in hoarding machine learning talent, and we want to do our best to partner with universities and students to increase the spread of machine learning knowledge. And I think the more folks who become expert in this field and can teach machine learning, the better off we will all be. So I think we're in this adventure together with all of you. And we're looking forward to a very exciting future for machine learning in ad tech and machine learning in general. I would like to thank our guest speakers for the interesting presentations and discussions. I would like to thank all of you for being here tonight. And we'll now have an opportunity to mingle during the cocktail party. Thanks again for coming.